Amazon S3 now supports ETags for conditional writes, allowing you to check if an object has been modified before updating it. This feature helps prevent accidental writes, especially when multiple users are writing to the same object simultaneously. In this video, let's learn how to get started using the ETags feature in Amazon S3 and use this from a .NET application. We will also see how you can enforce this at an S3 bucket level so that it's mandatory to pass the ETags anytime you are updating an object. Hello everyone. My name is Rahul and welcome back to this YouTube channel. If you're new here, I make videos on .NET, Cloud, and DevOps. This video is sponsored by AWS and is part of my .NET on AWS series. Previously on this channel, we did cover the Amazon conditional operations where we used the if none match header to check an object already existed before writing this. However, this was supported only for new objects so that you wouldn't create a new object with the exact same key. Recently, Amazon has added the if match header support as well. Now, if you want to prevent object overwrites based on key names, you would be using the if none match, which makes sure that only one object exists with the exact same key. This means once you have an object with a specified key, you cannot create a new object with the exact same key, which also prevents any overwrites. However, what if you really want to update an existing object? In this case, you would use the new header, which is the if match header, which compares the ETag value of an object in Amazon S3 bucket with the one that you provide on the write operation. So let's see this in action from a .NET application. So here I have an existing solution which we used earlier in the if none match video, where we used the if none match header and specified it as star so that anytime you're creating a new object, the same key should not be existing in the bucket. Now, if you look at this version of the PutObject request, you can see that this does not support the if match header. However, if you manage the NuGet packages, you can see that there is an update to our AWS SDK library, and we can update this to 3.7.408. Now, I'm not sure the exact version where this specific support was added, but this version does support the if match header. So once updated, if I go back to our request and look for the if match header, we have this new property on our PutObject request. So let's start using this if match header. So we will be creating a new endpoint so that I can leave this existing code in here. So let's copy and paste this map post endpoint and create a new endpoint for us. Now in this specific one, let's call this as update file ETag, and let's also update the name, which is going to specify with ETag. Now, we'll not be specifying the if none match header because we are updating an existing object and we will be passing an ETag value. So to get the ETag, let's pass this as part of the request. So let's pass in an ETag. So we can keep this as optional and let's pass the ETag value. Now we can pass this on to the if match header. So let's specify the if match and pass on the ETag header value inside this. Now, anytime you are making an update to the S3 object, you will need this ETag value. So anytime you're getting an object for display for user purposes, you can get the ETag value along with it and pass it along to your UI or wherever you are using it. So when you're posting back the object, you can pass the original ETag value that you got when you read that specific file. To expose the ETag value, let's also go and create a new get method so that we can get it as part of this get. So let's duplicate this endpoint as well, and let's call this as get file and ETag. And let's also update the name to match that specific one. Now in this case, let's slightly modify the get actions. So I'll replace this with some different code. Now in here, we are getting the object as before, and we are reading the contents of this and returning back a JSON object which returns the file's key, the contents, and also the actual ETag that was returned. Now we can use this ETag anytime we are going to update this object. Let's run this application to see this in action. So here I have an existing file on my local machine that I will be uploading, which is hello.txt. Now this simply has the text hello Amazon S3. So let's first upload this file into Amazon S3. In my S3 bucket, I currently don't have a file. So let's go back to Swagger UI. Let's specify update file, try it out, and let's choose the file and upload this. So let's choose the hello.txt and upload this file. Now this is going to upload the file into S3, and if you refresh here, you can see this new file inside here. So if I navigate into that, you can also see the ETag value inside S3. So you can see the entity tag value or the ETag value. Now, if we want to get this in our API endpoint, we can go to the new endpoint that we created, get file and ETag, and pass in the hello.text. And let's click execute. So you can also see the exact same ETag inside here. Now, let's say we were to update this file. So let's copy this ETag value and let's make an update to our S3 file. So let's say updated. And let's save this. Now, if you want to make an update to the file, let's use the new endpoint that we created and let's say try it out. Let's paste in the ETag value that we have. Let's choose the file. Let's choose the new updated file and let's say execute. Now, in this case, this is going to upload successfully and it returns a 200 OK. So if we come back to the get file and ETag and again execute on the hello.text, you can see this is now returning a different ETag value and also the updated file contents. Now the ETag value is basically calculated using the contents of your file and the metadata properties does not affect the ETag values. Now if we were to update this file again using the same ETag value that we used previously without using the new value, so let's say choose file, choose this updated file again and click execute, this is going to throw an error. So you can see in this case it has returned a 500 and it's returning at least one of the preconditions you specified did not hold. This is because the ETag value has changed since we last got the file and we will need a new ETag value, which is the value that we just got again in this previous request. So if we pass this with the new ETag value that's there, we can upload this again. So if we paste this in here and execute this again, since the ETag value is going to match, it has successfully uploaded. So if I now come back to our get file and ETag and retrieve this value, this ETag value has again changed. So if multiple users are acting on this API, so let's say if we have a different user on a different tab, and if they were making simultaneous updates to the same file, in this case, this becomes extremely useful so that you will not be overwriting one changes from the other user. So anytime you are building your application or getting an object file to be displayed, you will need to pass the ETag value around on when you last read it so that you can use that again to update the file. So if that has changed, then it will throw an exception, which means you'll have to get the new object and then make the update again on the new object. However, if I decide not to send the ETag value at all, then I can overwrite this object. So let's say try it out and let's click this updated again. So let's say updated again new and let's save this file. So if I choose to completely ignore this ETag, so let's leave this as blank and let's choose the file and let's choose the updated file again, which has this new text updated again new, and let's click execute. In this case, since we did not pass any ETag value, this is going to overwrite the file. So there's no ETag to match, so we haven't even specified the header. So Amazon S3 thinks that this is not using this new feature, which means it will overwrite the file. So if I come back to the get file and ETag, try it out and pass in the hello.text, you can see this will be updated to the latest value, which is the again new. So you can see that we have updated this without specifying an ETag. So how do we enforce that an ETag value is always specified so that you don't have different clients which choose not to pass it and some clients that does pass it? So we have to maintain a consistency that any user that uses the S3 API will be passing the ETag value. So we can do this using bucket policies. So let's navigate into our S3 bucket. Let's go into the permissions tab and here we can set up a bucket policy. So let's edit this and create a new policy. Now to enforce conditional writes on Amazon S3 buckets, there are some examples that you can use to come up with your policy based on your requirements. So I'll put a link to this documentation so that you can use this for reference. Now if I come back to our edit bucket, to add a new policy, you can click the add new statement, which will allow you to add new policy statements. So let me copy and paste an existing statement that I have created and I will walk you through that. So let's remove this blank one that's defaultly created and paste this with the one that I have. So in this case, I have created a new policy which enforces the ETag is present always. So it checks if the condition on the S3 if match is null, which means if header does not exist, it is going to deny that specific request. Now this is going to happen for all the principles, which is why I have used star, and this is on the action S3 PutObject and limited to this specific bucket. So if the S3 if match header property is null, in this case we deny this specific request. So let's make sure to save this policy And let's try updating this again. So if I come back to the Swagger UI, now if I update this file again, so let's say hello S3 after policy update, let's save this. Let's switch back to Swagger. Now in this case, if I try and upload this, so let's reset this form. Let's choose a file again. Let's choose the hello.txt, which is now new. Let's click execute. And in this case, I haven't specified an ETag. And since we have a new policy in place, this is going to deny that request. So you can see this is not authorized to perform S3 put object on resource. This is because it is denied using a resource-based policy. So you can see all that information inside this specific error message. So I'm forced to now pass in an ETag value anytime I'm making an update. So now to get this to work, I'll have to go back to the get file, get my ETag value. So let's use the hello.txt and get the ETag value for the current value. So let's copy this and make sure to pass that ETag value. If this ETag value was a wrong one, so let's choose one of the ETag values from the previous request and try and update this. This is going to fail anyways because it is not going to match. Now for this to succeed, I will have to pass the latest ETag value that we copied and execute this on that specific value. So now you can see there is a 200 OK. And if I come back and get this file again, you will see that the contents have updated and it says hello Amazon S3 after policy update. So the conditional writes on ETag on Amazon S3 is an extremely useful feature when multiple people are working simultaneously on the same object. You can prevent accidental overwrites and also you can enforce this on your bucket by specifying policies. If you like this video, please make sure to hit the like button. If you want to be notified of future such videos, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It also helps me to grow this YouTube channel. Thank you and see you soon in the next video.